So Donald Trump has shown us we can't keep mucking around like this. It's get strong or get run over. And that means we've got to stop this idiotic crusade to get net zero by 2050. And I want to show you two things from just this past week that underline how net zero is a massive, useless money pit. Every year, JP Morgan, the financial services giant, compiles a report on world energy. Its latest says the world spent $9 trillion American, that's 14 trillion Australian, globally in just the last decade on wind, solar, electric vehicles, energy storage, electrified power, the whole catastrophe. And all that's done is increase the share of renewables in our energy use by under 0.6% a year. So that means our energy from non-fossil fuels, especially dams, looks like this. Only just over 18% after all that money, $14 trillion. And we're going to need even more fossil fuels. That's the other thing I'll show you. Donald Trump's inspiring new Energy Secretary, Chris Wright, genius, this week gave a lecture pointing out the world's richest 1 billion people, like us, need gas and coal and oil for everything from our heating to making cement or plastic or fertilizers and pharmaceuticals, and to be even clothes, and to be this rich and this comfortable, we each consume about 13 barrels of oil a year, while the 7 billion people who aren't as rich as the 1 billion, that's us, on average use just 3 barrels a year. And they're eventually going to want to be as rich as us and want as much oil as us.
Today we have about 1 billion people that live a lifestyle remotely recognizable to us. We wear these fancy clothes, we fly to go to conferences, we turn on light switches and get in motorized transport. That's awesome. 1 billion out of the world's 8 billion people live like that. Nothing is more important. And I've not met any of people in that 7 billion that don't want what we have. To me, it's just blatantly obvious the world needs more energy, much more energy.
Joining me is Rowan Dean, Editor-in-Chief of The Spectator Australia and host of Outsiders every Sunday here at 9 a.m. And also has got his own show on Fridays at 7 p.m. I don't know where he gets the time. Rowan, great to see you again. Here we are now in Australia thinking, we can save the world from global warming by blowing up our coal-fired power stations, driving electric cars, when you see how little difference it makes to anything and how much more coal, gas and oil will be needed and used in the time to come.
And it's not only that, Andrew, it's AI, which is the great hope of the side, which is going to add so much to all our lives, apparently, and businesses, which requires vast amounts of energy. So we have to be one of the stupidest societies in the history of this planet. What we're looking at is a doomsday climate alarmism scare that's been around since the 70s. It was originally global cooling, then it was global warming. Then when the planet wasn't warming or drying out, it became climate change, so that basically any climate event can be labeled as climate change. The perfect example or metaphor, if you like, was last weekend, where we were all wound up to fever pitch to expect some catastrophic climate event in Queensland. I'm sure some people had some awful damage and so on, but nothing that previous generations haven't had to suffer through as well. We are literally destroying our livelihood, our prosperity, our economy, the economy and hopes of our future generations, our future prosperity. We talk about, we kick and scream because of so-called tariffs being put on steel and aluminium. Andrew, the greatest tariff, which is put on every single Australian, on every single activity that they do every single second of the day, is of course the net zero tariff. It's not called a tariff, but that's what it is. It's a huge cost. And you've just put your finger on the cost. $9 trillion that never needed to be spent, that could have been spent making all of our lives so much better, and more importantly, bringing so many more people out of poverty and malnutrition and so on. We frittered that away on an insane crusade pushed by a Swedish teenage girl with schooling difficulties, and the most cowardly group of politicians I think I can imagine in modern history, who have sat back and allowed this disgraceful misuse of our resources and our money to take place. Andrew, in my opinion, the whole thing is a massive fraud, and it's high time that we had politicians who stood up like Donald Trump and said, that's it, no more.
Absolutely. I mean, Chris Wright, people should look up his videos online. That man really he nails it. Rowan, it is a rule. Anyone who starts a sentence with these words, I believe in free speech, and then puts comma, I know the way they're going to end that sentence is to say they don't actually believe in free speech at all. The billionaire Clive Palmer, he's running lots of newspaper ads for his new political party. They're coming out now like this one. There are only two genders. Now, one of the papers that ran that is the Newcastle Herald. And the boss of that company, Tony Kendall, hello, Tony, said he's now removed that ad from electronic editions of the paper and banned running it again. And it said, we support freedom of speech and a diversity of views, comma, but on this occasion, we let our readers and our staff down. I believe in free speech, but I don't, in fact, Rowan. What do you make of this?
Well, you're right. As soon as they say, I believe in free speech, but the only free speech that is worth fighting for is the free speech that makes you uncomfortable. The only free speech that has any intellectual value, any merit, any political value, the only free speech that advances science, the only free speech that advances society, economics, politics, businesses, whatever, is the free speech that challenges what you already believe and forces you to rethink your assumptions and either support them with new facts and new information against the challenge, or to change your way of thinking. That's what free speech is all about. So yes, if you say I believe in free speech, but you've already completely dismissed the whole concept of free speech. But where this is doubly insane, Andrew, is not only does this bloke not understand how free speech works, there are only two genders. Wake up, guys and girls. There are only two genders. You can believe whatever else you want. You can proclaim whatever else you want. That's free speech. But that free speech doesn't stand up to challenge, because no one has yet shown that there are more than two genders. So for the time being, not only is this bloke stopping reality, he's denying reality at the same time as not understanding free speech. It's insane.
Is this where I actually apologise to people for letting you say that, Rowan? I'm not sure. Delete it from
you can apologise all you like,
I believe in Rowan's free speech.
I'm waiting for someone to step forward and tell me what that third gender is, or fourth, or 52nd, or whatever.
I know. Rowan, you put that argument at the top in particular brilliantly. Thank you so much indeed for your time.